I'll be back in the room.
Back in the room, Martin.
Except if you're watching on the YouTubes, you will notice I'm not in the room. I'm outside, and if you're listening through the medium of your ear, you can probably hear a leaf blower going on and various birds twittering in the trees.
I had an ex-boss who used to, like, when we were like doing like really long hours, used to stare out the window of the agency, and he'd say, the big room." It's like
the big room. Yes, I know, because
so it's like you're in the big room.
Yeah, because we adopted that for decades. The I'm going out into the big room. In fact, I still say it now. I still use that. All right. Yes.
Anyway, how are you, Martin?
Oh yeah, because I had my kidneys had a bit of a kung fu chop and a slice over a week ago, and I feel I don't feel too bad, so not too bad.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your kidneys working better, or does just no actual?
You know what? Who knows?
It's like the cogs aren't grinding so much.
Who knows how? I mean,
right.
Unless they're really screwing up, you how do you ever tell?
They just go in there and grease the
Well,
the
they
cogs.
just kind of like went in, and the thing is, right, is that I've got some scars on my front, right? I've got 5 of them. One is, I would say, about 2 or 3 inches. That's the big one. That's right in the middle. Right. Then I've got these 4 in a ladder formation, which are quite small. They're like, I don't know, maybe half an inch, somewhere around there.
Ladder formation. Wow.
Yeah, it's like there's just 4 equally spaced up one side, and I know that it's a robot. It's a robot assisted surgery. So I just sit there and go, what? Why? What are these 4 doing? Like, I imagine that the big one at the front was where the surgeon was in, and he was doing all the main work. And then, what were the other 4 about? What were they doing? What was that robot up to? Sneaky shit.
You could have a tattoo, couldn't you?
Yeah, I know. I thought I could turn this into a. Well, yeah, because it's quite equal. So it's quite. You would like it because it's quite geometric and equally spaced. I mean, they were quite. It's quite aesthetically pleasing from that point of view.
Is it? But if it was a stairway heaven, in reality, does it like arrive under your armpit?
No. It's just kind of like, I can't really show you, but maybe it's about. I mean, because I'm using American.
Towards your nipple.
But it's probably about 10 inches from the bottom one to the top one, and it's just in my and it's just in my tummy region.
Okay.
So it's not too far away from the actual kidney area. But yeah, I know. So if anyone's got any ideas for tattoos, then
right in the comments.
I'll take them. I'll take them.
Tempting for anyone, I'd imagine, listening.
Right. Anyway, all right. Anyway. Okay. With that scarring news, welcome to ADHDville. That's a windshield. I just put my hat on to stop the wind. It's a temporary windshield because I'm outside.
Is it a beanie?
It is one of my hats that is now just beanie? Over my mic. Yeah, kind of, yeah. Anyway, over to you, Mr. Thompson, for your words, which
Hang on.
go.
My phone was ringing.
I'm Paul Thompson, and I was diagnosed. Nah,
Okay. Sorry about that.
I can see him there. No worries,
Sorry,
because
the
we
music's
know that your internet is
Okay.
because we know that the internet is basically your phone. So if your phone goes off, the whole
Yeah.
podcast goes
Yeah.
up the
Because
scoop.
like I live in a medieval town with like really, really thick walls. So in the end, I found out the most reliable connection I have is when I go through the phone. Bizarrely.
You just hotspot it.
Hotspot,
Crazy.
exactly. Hotspotting.
Anyway, Mr. Paul, introduce
Anyway,
yourself.
yes, the intro. I'm Paul Thompson. You knew that, but they don't. And I was diagnosed with the combined AD and the D a year ago, Martin.
Wow,
So yeah,
that is crazy. And I'm
yeah.
Martin West, and I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2013.
Whoa.
Yeah,
So we're just like two mates who, by coincidence, after 39 years of friendship, discover we're ADHDers. Hurrah! Now, it's really
yeah,
important to say this is an entertainment podcast about
mm-hmm.
adult ADHD and does
Yep.
not substitute for individualized advice from qualified health professionals.
Oh
So
God,
don't
no,
take any advice from us. No. We're just
we're
here as
idiots.
a kind of we're idiots. All inclusive ADHD park bench with room for everyone, including your doppelgangers, your alter egos, your body doubles, your chaperones, and your best buddies. Still
Yeah,
here, congratulations. You're a, you're a, you're a, you're a real stickler.
you
Then
are.
grab your jetpacks.
You're like glue. Thank
Grab
you.
your jetpacks, pedalos, space hoppers, or any other transportation methods, and let us take you to ADHDville, an
Mm-hmm.
imaginary town that we've created in our
Where?
minds.
minds.
In our minds,
In our hats.
there on the stairs, right there, where we like to explore different parts of ADH and the D.
Oh, nice. And we start off, as always, at the town hall in the mayor's office, where we, the joint mayors of ADHD, take care of
Well,
business.
except we're not, are we? We're not in the mayor's
yeah,
office.
we are, because no, wait, no, I'm gonna have to cut that out, because
Oh, okay, because this is
even
going
though,
after.
it's
Okay, I'll
yeah,
shut up.
don't worry,
Okay,
I'll scrub that.
scrub it.
So when I send the audio down to the audio department in the
Yeah.
in the mayor's office, I'll just get to cut that section out.
Yeah.
All right. So
Okay.
what? Why? So we're here because it's because October is a ADHD awareness month. So we thought that we should do
We
at
should.
least a little head nod to that,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Mr. T?
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah.
And it is just like awareness. So what does that really mean? I mean,
Well,
it's actually, yeah.
let's jump in the car
Yeah, let's just jump in the car.
and we'll head to where are we going, Mr. T?
Let's go to the coffee shop, Martin. I think I need.
I think we'll stick to the script and we'll go to the park.
Oh, okay. Good idea.
Because it will already I
Less petrol.
already have the sound effects for it in the background.
Oh, okay.
So
Maybe we save on petrol as well.
Well,
Park's a bit closer than the coffee shop.
it is. So there you go. All right. Well, let's just
Right.
bring the
Just
old
think
car
about
around
our
the front.
carbon footprint.
Yeah. Always thinking about our footprints. Wow. The park sounds exactly like
It should.
my backyard. Weird.
Okay. With the leaf blowers.
Yeah. So ADHD Awareness Month.
Yeah.
What's that all about? What's going
What's it
on?
all about? What's all
Yeah.
that about? It's Global Awareness Week as well.
Uh, all right.
By coincidence or not, a survey came out this week, Martin,
Mm-hmm.
and if there's someone who's put all the researches together, right,
Yeah.
about the numbers, percentages, right, and they've basically worked because some people say, oh, it's like the world population is about 2, 3, 4, or 5%. Sometimes people say it's 8%, blah blah blah, of the population. They've put them all together, and they
Right.
said it's between 4 and 5% of us have it.
Blimey.
It's a lot.
Blimey. That is a lot. That is a lot.
It's a lot of us.
I know. And
We should do like a
it's
group hug.
oh good lord, that would be expensive. We would all have to get onto a plane, and then our carbon footprint
Right.
that we were so careful of, that just gets ruined. I was actually doing a history of ADHD. I just kind of went on a little bit of a sidebar
Right.
last week. I can remember when, oh, how far does this go back? Because I think it's tempting to think, especially if you've been diagnosed recently, that it's fairly modern and fairly new,
Yeah.
like that it's a new thing. When in fact, you can kind of trace it all the way back to ancient Greeks, and
Hmm.
and so therefore it feels like this is something that has been around with us for a long time, even
Yeah.
way before uh, the Greeks. I think it's just been part of our genetic
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
makeup going back forever.
Which makes there's a logic to it as well. It's not the more talking about awareness month, October Awareness Month. The more when you actually diagnose it with it, or when you actually first become aware of it and you read into it, the more time that goes past, the more logical it sounds, right,
Right.
in your head.
Yeah. I think ADHD in of itself was, as we understand it today, has only really been in existence since 1980. I think it was when it was kind of. There've been various forms of it, kind of going back through history,
Yeah.
but what we know of as ADHD
Mm.
today is
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, there
it's
was a medical
fairly
paper, I
recent.
think Victorian times. There's a
Hmm.
medical paper where there's an English um, professor of medicine as talks about it. Didn't call it ADHD, but he talks
No.
about it, talks around it, and he was talking about
Yeah.
ADHD. That was
Yeah.
100 years ago.
Yeah. Because in my head, I was thinking, because I think we've said this before. It's like, we could get to our late age undiagnosed, as a very late undiagnosed ADHD is, and you kind of go,
Yeah,
how did everyone miss all of this, right?
right.
And then because there's part of my brain that kind of goes, well, no one really looked for it. It
No.
wasn't something that people looked for. Like you
Mm.
would have to go and seek professional help and kind of put in the footwork
Yeah,
and put in the effort to kind of try and
yeah.
get it diagnosed. And
I
even
think it
so,
was
even
stigmatized as well. Like
oh
autism.
yeah,
When I was a kid, autism when I was a kid was like, when I was a kid, there was like really horrible words used, like spastic, that are
hmm,
thankfully not used anymore. All these like this horrible language associated with people that were, neurologically diverse. Even autism when I was a kid, and obviously when you were a kid, it was like,
right,
oh, some kind of
yeah.
freak.
Because if you're old like us and you're British like us, you'll remember a program called Crossroads that was on
Right.
TV, and then there was a character on
Yes.
it called what was his name? Benny, right?
Benny.
Benny,
Yeah.
and he had like a he wore hats like I wear hats, and he and I think that he was that kind of autistic
Yeah. Yeah. He
character
wasn't Down
trait.
syndrome. It was just he was autistic. Definitely. Yeah.
I think so. It certainly
Yeah.
felt that way. And then so he was the butt of all the jokes, right? Really,
Yeah.
um, So if you called someone a Benny, you were putting them down. That was
Yeah.
that was an
He had a, he had
insult.
he had a weakness for another character in the cast called Miss Diane.
Miss
He had a
Diane,
West Country accent. He talked a little bit like that West Country, which is Cornwall, Devon.
right?
West
Yeah.
Country. Miss Diane.
Mm-hmm.
Used to say Miss Diane.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah,
okay.
it was like it was even close to being on anyone's radar. Not it wasn't on mine until I was like in my late 40s, for heaven's sake.
I know. Yeah. 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 It's nuts. And I mean, not to kind of go off on a tangent, but I'm going to slightly. Is that it's funny how because ADHD is quite loud. It's quite
Mm, right.
it's quite um it's really externally quite obvious once you
Yeah.
know, then it's like, oh crap, that's just it's whereas if you've got like autism, say you like level 1, high masking,
Mm,
low needs, you can kind of get away with it.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been finding even there's this weird thing, not weird, I guess, but this thing where because ADHD is quite loud, people get diagnosed with ADHD,
Mm,
and then later, once they kind of like get their heads around that, and they kind of like
mm,
calm it down and think, well,
yeah.
what the hell else is going on? Then they kind of
Right.
go, oh, I might be autistic
Yeah.
as well, and it seemed quite
Mm,
common that 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 you kind of like pick up
hmm.
this extra little this other
Yeah.
thing, this because ADHD can mask
Yeah.
other neurological conditions.
But I mean, well, I know you're the same. Since I've been diagnosed, I could like pick it up in other people so fast and
Hmm.
see it. It's
Yeah,
just oozing out of them,
right.
and it's really fascinating. You see, as you say, it's like it's so prevalent.
Hmm.
You may as well have it like tattooed on your forehead.
Right. Yeah, because I think that we can spot the trauma responses
Yeah,
of it.
I think you could feel
Um.
the energy as well. This,
Hmm.
I'm not religious, but I am spiritual, and I do believe in energy. And you do pick it up. Like you make friends. Like me and you, Martin, we made friends like 40 years ago.
I
You're the
mean,
oldest friend I've got,
I
actually.
think I think friend
Lucky,
is
lucky
is
you.
is a bit of a stretch if I mean,
I feel like our friendship was a spiritual. We made a spiritual connection.
well,
But
I
yeah,
think it's more
lucky,
about
lucky you, Martin.
your your dad paying me.
Was it? Is
That's
it
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, mate." I was like, "What?" He said,
A backlander,
my son. He could have used a friend." I went, "Okay, right.
right?
Well, it's
He needs a
it's gonna
chaperone.
cost you 10 quid a month."
Okay, you're
And
cheap,
I know. Well, what's worse is obviously that I haven't ever raised that amount, so it's just been
right?
10
You're still
10
getting
quid.
it.
Yeah, I still get it. I mean, it's hardly worth it now. You know what I mean?
Oh, blimey!
I get 120 quid,
Blimey.
quid a year.
What's that? 40 years? 40 times 365 times 40.
Oh, get your calculator out.
No, 12. Hang on.
because I ain't. I
I
ain't.
feel like I do need to make this calculation. Ten, ten
Yeah, I
pounds a
don't
month.
have autism in the slightest. I'm just going to sit
No,
here and work out the math of how much I've been paid.
39
I'll just vamp
times
by kind of saying that
four
dyscalculia. What?
£4,680.
Yeah, not worth it, mate. Not worth it.
Ah,
Hasn't been worth it. Everything, Anyway, I was actually saying that dyscalculia is also a comorbidity of ADHD, which is like
yeah.
where numbers are a mystery, are a confusing
They're a bit of a bastard.
blob of, yeah, they're not your friends.
No, no, they're
Yeah,
not. They're not. This
I've
is
not really
really not.
looked into it for me, but my gut kind of says
That,
that
that's
you
another thing.
know.
We're talking before about it not being on our radar. I struggled so much with maths when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I was clearly, if I was if I was at school now, little Paul at school now, they'd be like, "Oh, Paul's got ADHD. He needs some help.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got problems with numbers, so he's going to be find it even. He's going to have a really he's going to really struggle with arithmetic and maths. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
no, nothing, nothing.
Yeah.
He was
I
like
know.
in one end, spat out the other. There you go. Off you go.
Yeah.
Off you go.
Yeah. Right. I mean, in theory, I can see why numbers is fun, and I can kind of see where it's a whole language and a universe that actually
Yeah,
kind of is cool. But my
yeah.
but my brain really doesn't want. I
No.
think perhaps my ADHD as a kid, because it kind of required me to concentrate in a certain
Mhm.
way. It just
Uh-huh.
didn't want to. It just
Right.
it just
But
wasn't
then you
creative
say it
enough.
depends how it's taught, probably as well. In India, the vast majority of the most brilliant mathematicians come from India, and in India, they teach maths in a completely different way that we teach it,
All right,
like polar opposite way of teaching it. So they come at it, Martin. They come at it from
all
a
right,
different angle.
okay, nice.
Yeah, in India.
All right,
There you go.
all right. So as it's ADHD Awareness Month,
Mm.
if you do listen to this and you do, you know, put stuff out there, so maybe you do another podcast, maybe you're on
Yeah.
TikTok and you share bits of your life with other people, that is creating awareness. This
Hmm.
podcast does its little tiny bit in our corner of the universe to spread awareness of
Yeah.
ADHD and anyone else out there who's doing similar different things but kind of sharing. Brilliant. Hats off to you. And sometimes it's just about, I think the hardest thing is sharing it with the people around you, right? It's the
Right.
people close to you,
Mm.
that educate,
I find
when
it
you go on, you find it hard.
I, I find it hard to communicate to people who you'd like meet someone and you perceived, I don't know how, but somehow you perceive that they might not know much about it, especially in Italy, because it's not on anyone's radar in Italy. It's unreal how little people know about it in Italy, but that's
Hmm.
changing too. Um, but when you perceive someone doesn't know anything about ADHD, you've got to describe it. It's like the elevator discussion. You've got to like explain it. I find that really hard. It's just like,
Hmm.
how do you explain AD? How do you explain it in an easy way?
Right.
Um,
I, th-
other
I
than it's
think,
got nothing to do with the name.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, it, it becomes difficult turning it to other people. But I think it's especially difficult if you're talking to like family and friends, because they bring along a whole baggage of stuff
Right.
which is your relationship to them, so, and their history.
Yeah.
So for example, if you have a friend and you meet once in a while and you're always late, right, and the other person's there and they're always early, and they
Mhm.
go, my god, my my friends are so flaky, and then you kind of go, and then you find out that they're ADHD, and they go, oh, I've got ADHD and this is why. And then of course
Mhm.
that just brings up, oh, I see, so now
Yeah.
you're gonna blame being late
Yeah.
on this, on being,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
all the past history that you've ever had with that person gets rolled into this conversation about your ADHD, and whether
Yeah.
you're using it as an excuse or,
Yeah.
you know.
Or the worst thing that I think is when it's so common these days is people have a really superficial knowledge about something and pretty much decide that they know enough about it. So what they
Yeah.
usually get is like the usual tropes, stereotypes of what ADHD is, and they're not. Don't scratch the surface, or some even don't even begin to scratch the surface. They just base it on someone else's opinions who has basically got a problem with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Um,
people who have basically heard something and then
mm,
formed their own opinion of it, like it doesn't
yeah,
exist.
yeah,
It was created by the pharma industry to
yeah,
sell you meds. That's
right,
one that I see pop up fairly regularly.
yeah.
Um,
I
and
think
then,
sometimes also they're actually basically scared that they might be tarnished with the same brush, because there is a taboo about it. If you come from our generation,
oh yeah,
it's like, oh, don't go there. So they'd rather like deflect, deflect, deflect,
yeah,
pretend it doesn't exist.
I know, because um, I I put up this post really quickly and then I took it down almost as quickly because I didn't feel like
Right.
I'd quite formed the thought. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Which was basically, if you're talking
That doesn't usually
about
stop you, mate.
I know, but like we kind of think, oh, I'm not quite sure about this, so I'm just going to take it down and think about it a little bit more. So yeah, so I'm now just going to blurt it out onto this podcast instead,
Right. Seems like the
which
perfect
is
platform.
right, which is who is worse when it comes to, like, when you're talking about ADHD? Is it like normal people, like
Right.
holistic people who
Yeah.
um who will go, oh, you're just lazy and blah blah blah, or is it other people with ADHD who are
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
undiagnosed,
Yeah.
who have managed to highly mask
Yeah.
themselves, and through
Hmm.
sheer will and sacrifice have managed to kind of get somewhere, and then
Yeah.
they resent any other ADHD
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
and they will turn around and go, well, look, you're lazy, you
Yeah.
should pull your
Yeah.
finger
Yeah.
out,
Yeah. Yeah.
when
Oh,
in fact,
totally.
if you looked at their lives, if they had a degree,
Hmm.
example, and then you looked at how they got their degree, it would be, they sacrificed a lot for it. They procrastinated and got everything in at the last minute. They
Yeah.
required a lot of external pressure and
Yeah.
support to kind of get them through it.
Hmm.
And then they went out into the workplace, and then they worked night and day, became workaholics,
Yeah.
got to a good high position, but they have no relationship with their kids, and
Yeah.
and their marriage is on the rocks, because they've just worked in survival mode, and then they
Yeah.
point at these successes like,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a degree and I'm married and I've got
Mm-hmm.
kids,
Yeah.
and they go, you ADHD person, you're lazy, and they forget,
Yeah.
and they just will not accept
Mm-hmm.
the the shit that
Yeah.
they have put themselves and everyone else through because they're just undiagnosed. I'm just going to let my dog out because it's just barking.
Is he?
So
Okay.
if you can manage to
I'll just,
talk to the
I'll,
camera for like
yeah.
10
Okay.
seconds.
Okay. 10. Okay. Yeah. It just happens to be. That happens to be on my list. Actually, it's right here on the list, and he's back.
I'm back.
It's yeah. I was just saying. That's on my list. Exactly what you're talking about.
All right.
Definitely. Because I think there's a lot of people. There's another category of people as well. There's a category of people that I've met some of them over the last few months since my diagnosis. There's a lot of people that not only do they not know, they don't want to know that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
just don't want to give it up. They don't want to give up this story that they've been telling themselves because they've been holding on to it so tightly. Especially people like I know people that have been taking antidepressants for years and years and years,
Right.
and they shouldn't have been just because they've been diagnosed. That's something that's hard to give up. To admit, like,
Yeah.
oh, um, I've been on the wrong medication. I've believed in something for all these years. It's a story that I've been telling myself,
Mm-hmm.
that I kind of grew fond of, if we're honest, sometimes. If you're on the victim side of, you tend to be a bit of a victim, you kind of like holding on to that. Or you might simply have to admit that you've had really bad advice from your GP for
Right.
years because they're just ignorant about the subject,
Yeah.
or they
Yeah.
never bothered to get to know you particularly well.
Right. But
Or you never had the courage to go and see a psychologist.
yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. I mean, because
It's
who
yeah,
really wants to find out that their brain is wired in a different way, and that
yeah.
and as you say, if you've built your identity around your personality, and your
Mm,
personality is basically just is the outward, um or not even the out, but it's the parts that make up you,
yeah.
then you feel like your whole self would be under threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If it's like, oh, that
exactly.
person you thought you are, no, you're actually this person over
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Ugh.
It's what happens. It's what happens. I don't know if this analogy works, but it reminds me of the political situation at the moment where everyone is so polarized. But people hang on to their beliefs with every fiber in their body because they're fucking scared that someone's going to come around. They'll meet someone one day and their theories be completely blown away.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just
Especially if like,
yeah,
especially if you've put down a whole bunch of people for being lazy, you know,
yeah,
and and then you find that you're in that camp, as it were, and then
yeah.
the only
You
reason
might,
why you're not lazy is because
yeah,
you've exhausted yourself
yeah,
by masking your entire life.
yeah. But I like that saying. There's always going to be haters,
There are,
unfortunately. You
there
know,
are.
and there's nothing you can do with those kind of people.
No, I think
I haven't come up with them personally yet. I have to say.
it is weird, right? Because because when you're on social media a lot, and I see like ADHD people, women seem to get the brunt of the negative
Really?
comments. It seems, yeah, yeah,
Right.
and other guys too as well. But I don't know whether it's because we have the word podcast in our name that makes people feel like, oh, maybe they have a big audience. We don't. Um, and uh, and they might kind of just splatter me all over the airwaves if I say something bad.
Really?
I don't know whether that's part of it as well. Why we
I've not
don't get
seen or
so
heard or
much hate.
read anything negative,
Oh,
and I guess
it's
I'm
all
lucky.
if it's usually on other people's comment sections.
Right.
That's
Oh,
why.
really? I
Yeah,
never
yeah,
read
yeah.
those. I think I'll
Yeah.
probably have to read them. I'm going to have to go and read them. Not now. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it's all
and
the things that
because that is reality.
you would think.
Let's not kid ourselves. That is unfortunately reality. That's the culture
Right.
society we live in. You
Right.
can't ignore it. There are people like that. There are a lot of haters,
And it
and they've
comes from
got
surprising places. I had an argument,
right.
semi-argument, with someone online a couple of days ago. Right. ABC News, which is a news channel, put out a little clip on TikTok about ADHD, and they had this expert
Mm,
and the host was saying, "So there seems to be a big rise in ADHD," and it was cut to the expert, and the expert said, "Yeah, there are many reasons why," and he gave a very short but perfectly fair
mm,
answer. And I went to the comments section, and I was like just kind of pinging off loads of comments to everyone.
mm.
And one of them was this woman said it's being ADHD meds is being oversubscribed,
Right.
and then I went in. I said, I don't think they're being oversubscribed because I don't think. I mean, we are underdiagnosing
Right.
ADHD.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, I'm a pharmacist,
Right.
um, um, and I believe that they are being over prescribed." And I said, "Right. So, do you see the patient's notes and their history and their
Right.
diagnosis? Do you see any of
Yeah.
that?" And she said, "No, it's just from what I see." So I'm like,
Yeah. Right.
so I'm like, so you don't know. You're
Right.
just you don't know. You're just
Yeah.
biased. You're just
Hmm.
biased.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And another common one was that came up in the comments was it's because of the food that we eat. So in the
Yeah.
States, we have less control about the
Hmm.
additives and the preservatives and all that kind of crap that ends up in
Yeah.
our food. And a lot of Americans eat very processed food,
Like
and they
bleaching
blame
chickens.
that. Right, that's one of their things that they point to. It's the
Yeah.
food and the fact that Europe has better food regulations, which it does
Yeah.
generally. But
Yeah.
my point was always when I went on was like, no, it's just the stuff in the food can make the ADHD symptoms worse,
Yeah.
and that's why you might
Yeah.
think that. But
Yeah.
but it doesn't cause ADHD. You can't eat it. It doesn't.
No. 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 No.
Our food
But then
doesn't
that.
make ADHD.
Yeah. But that brings up. I mean, it's not going to be maybe the most popular thing to say, but there's also a lot of ignorance within the ADHD community. You know, there was a guy, famous, someone famous, who was on British TV couple of months back, I think. He has ADHD, and he was like spouting the same theory, Martin, about ingredients in food, and he got absolutely slaughtered by the community. So I mean, it's a complex situation. It is very difficult to get your head around. So it's completely normal
Right,
um,
right
to
because
misunderstand it. It's
right
so normal.
because if it because it, I think everyone's pretty good. Everyone's pretty agreed that it's a genetic
Yeah.
condition, and what they like to
Mhm.
do is to put whatever social thing
Mhm.
that
Yeah, the
you know
Gabor
whatever
Mate, he was saying that it's a trauma management thing that we develop as children. I don't think it is that. I think there are just some people that unfortunately already have ADHD genetically, and that if they have trauma in their early childhood, it exacerbates it and magnifies the ADHD that they already had.
Right.
That's my point. That's my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Yeah.
Righty.
So ADHD. All right. So awareness. So this is what this podcast is partly about as well. So
Yeah.
if you do
We don't.
listen to this podcast, thank you. We're trying to spread something.
Yeah. What we try not to do is actually there's a lot of ADHD content out there, whether it's podcasts or YouTube channels. We try not to tell people how they should think or feel about their ADHD, because it's all very personal, and we're certainly the last people to tell people how to think or feel about it. We just like to tell people how we deal with it,
Mm-hmm.
how we manage it, and
If it's
people
helpful,
make their
great.
own decisions. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not, it's okay.
We try and be entertaining along the way.
Exactly. Exactly. Which
All right.
sounds like a really good outro.
It does. It sounds like a good time to get back into the cab, right?
Right. That's
We'll get
beautiful.
we'll get back into the cab. We'll just head over to the post office, for whatever reason. We'll just chat a bit more with the post office. All right.
Yeah.
Just bring the car around.
Right. Bring it round. Handbrake turn.
Wow. You know what? When my wife parks her car, she does this thing which I call 70s cop show parking, which is
Right.
where you come to the parking space at about a 45-degree angle, and then you
Really?
park it there. Well, because in a cop show, well, what they would do is that cars would just drive up to a scene, right? They
Right.
just and they didn't parallel park. They would like park at an angle to the
Right.
curb, and then they
Like
jump out.
Starsky and Hutch.
Right.
Right.
So I always call
And then
anyone
for no
who
particular reason at all, like shimmy across the bonnet.
of course, shimmying is de rigueur of the 70s cop show genre.
Tomorrow you're going to arrive at home and your wife's going to turn up with Huggy Bear.
Oh, blimey. Yeah. And I
Giving
wouldn't
you
be
the-
mad. I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right. Hey,
I
Huggy.
tried to get him on the podcast. I sent him a message trying to
did
get
you?
him on the podcast. Yeah.
All
Didn't
right.
answer.
No, I asked I asked Paris Hilton if
Right.
she would come on the podcast, and she also turned me down. Well, I mean,
Maybe
she
the
didn't actually
secret.
even
We
bother
should
to turn
invite
me
them
down.
both.
What?
We should invite them both. That's going to be the draw.
Well, I think
The ultimate hook. Huggy Bear and Paris Hilton. Can't get much better than that. Fabulous.
Right. Yeah, because she came out as having ADHD and she made a statement about it recently.
She did.
And I was on her TikTok and I was like, hey, you should come on our podcast.
Right.
Nothing. Tumbleweed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. Anytime, Paris, though, anytime you want to come on.
Okay. I know the history
ears.
I know a bit about tumbleweed. Did you know tumbleweed, Martin, is not actually? I find this really funny and ironic. You know the classic tumbleweed kind of trope. It's like the classic Western. You'd have to have tumbleweed coming through.
Yeah.
It's not native to America at all. It's Russian.
Oh, is it?
It's native to Russia. The tumbleweed.
Oh,
Isn't that fantastic? I love that.
I thought you were going to say it is neither a weed nor does it tumble. But
no, the tumble. It is a weed, but it's native. It's a native Russian plant.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I think
ADHDville podcast, the place they go to for
for
weed
all your tumbleweed
entomology
needs.
and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, so
All
we're at
right.
the post office, Martin, and I should point out at this point that your feedback is vital to us. We read all your comments. We might read out yours on a future podcast.
We may well do.
Not
So
yours, Martin. I'm talking about our listeners.
this seems that if you've got this far, 45 minutes in,
Congratulations.
like and subscribe for more brain torture. You know you want to, and jump in the comments and say hello
or brain massage.
Rate and rate and review. Push all the buttons. If you see a button, push it. Just
push it. Just randomly.
Just get that mouse and just push it. Go on. You know you want to. Otherwise, it's just two old guys talking into the ether of nothingness.
Yes.
Because as we were saying before we hit the record button, even if you weren't there and there was nothing else and there was no one else listening, we would still do the podcast. So we're not going away.
Yeah.
No. We had done a year of this, which proves, if nothing else, this is going to carry on. It's just going to carry on. So get involved. Why not?
We're like a nasty rash. It just doesn't go away.
We refuse to go away.
Yeah.
Right.
Scratch all you like.
Yep.
We're staying.
Indeed. So, this is just to remind you that ADHDville is delivered fresh every Tuesday to all purveyors of fine podcasts. Please subscribe to the pod and rate us most podcasty. And feel free to correspond at will in the comments. But wait, there's more. If you wish to see our beautiful faces, then sally forth over to the YouTubes
Sally
and the
Fields,
TikToks.
Martin.
Lovely woman. And you can also pick up a quill and email us at adhdville@gmail.com. But in the meantime, be fucking kind to yourself.
And I beseech you, fellow ADHDers, know thyself. Sons of the hounds, come hither and get the flesh.
I can't believe that I've gone all this entire podcast and only one plane has gone overhead. And it waited till the very last minute.
Everyone wave.
All right.
And then Eddie came into shot.
No, Eddie's where is he?
Behind you.
Is he in shot? Oh, there he is. That's Eddie. He's asleep on the patio.
Eddie.
Oh, look, he's just chilling. He's just chilling. All right, he's just soaking up the rays.
There, says the mayor. That's that.